I'm Casey Viera. Could the San Antonio Spurs in the month of January already be on the verge of a season-defining moment coming up in Oklahoma City?
This is Jeff Garcia, host of Locked On Spurs. And let's talk a little thing about off the court real fast. A nice PSA to you fan merch guys and gals. If you're going to make some merches with the Spurs logo on there, just ask permission first. That's all I'm going to say.
And I'm Devin Brown. I'm ready to talk some Spurs basketball with my great friends Jeff and Casey. So let's do it.
This is Locked On Spurs Squad Show, the twice-a-week show where Spurs talk gets real. No filters, no fluff, just raw takes, sharp opinions, and straight-up passion for the game. The way only Locked On Podcast Network knows how. Let's drop some dimes and squad up. The Spurs Squad Show starts now.
That it does. Welcome into another get-together of the Spurs Squad Show right here on Locked On Spurs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one sports podcast network in the world because of the everydayers like yourself. A lot to hit on today, along with the host of the title pod, Jeff Garcia, in the middle, NBA champion Devin Brown, right at your screen. I'm Casey Viera because we are less than 24 hours away from the fourth meeting between the Thunder and the Spurs, as San Antonio looks to go for an even, and hit another big-time punch, make it 4 for 4 in as many tries. But as we know, it hasn't been particularly simple, particularly easy, because they haven't played great since then. So we'll try to iron out the X's and O's of things. And maybe a big reason why is figuring out what's wrong with Dylan Harper, or what isn't wrong. Really hitting a bit of a wall over the past couple of weeks and ultimately tidy a bow on things by trying to figure out what's going to be happening in said Oklahoma City matchup. But as we know, it's a short-lived series this season, all three of them going by way of the Spurs up to this point. Most recently, the week of Christmas, taking a pair against OKC. Of course, the NBA Cup was the first crack at it. But since those three meetings, since the most recent one on Christmas Day, San Antonio, of course, they went into that game on an 8-game win streak, or followed on an 8-game win streak, but they've only gone 4-5 since, and it's prompted some questions along the way about what's right with this team? What's wrong with this team? Do we particularly know as a whole? I'm not sure. That's why we get together on this Spurs squad show and we have these conversations. So, Jeff, I'll present the idea to you first. What have we learned about this Spurs team in the past 9 games since they played most recently on Christmas Day in OKC?
I think we learned that we need to pump the brakes a bit. Great start to the season, long winning streak, beating some top boys around the block in the league. But this team is still a work in progress. Yes, they're out of the rebuild. Yes, they got their guy, Wemby, and they got great pieces around him, tons of pieces. Thumbs up, Spurs and Brian Wright. But they still need time to gel. They still need time to iron things out. And another reason why I need to pump the brakes on this team a bit is because they still can't seem to stay healthy. They just can't stay healthy. Devin's been out. Victor's been in and out. Then he's bench, and then he's starting. And then they're treading lightly with his minutes. It's all over the place right now. This team still needs time to get things together, iron things out. But the good thing is that they have a great record. They're one of the best teams in the West. They're chasing that number one spot. The sky's still not falling, despite their erratic play of late. But I think the biggest thing for me that I learned is that, you know what? Yeah, pump the brakes a bit. We're almost at the halfway point of the season. Let's see how they are for real. Really get to see what they are and test them. Let's see where their temperature's at around the All-Star break.
Devin, what have you learned in the sense that since their last meeting, what have you learned in the sense maybe from the standpoint of being overconfident? Because when they came out the very next night or a couple nights later and they got blasted by an inferior Utah team, I think we all kind of looked at it as a trap game at the time, and maybe we'll look past it. But little did we know this turns into a stretch where they've gone 4 or 5 in their last 9. Do you think there was an element that they maybe got a little bit big-headed, and that's part of the regression back to the means?
Well, why not? You get to the NBA Cup, you get to the finals in that. You beat OKC. They have that on their resume in OKC and at home. You're kind of, rolling through the beginning of the season with some of your star players out and everybody, that had played, at the beginning of the season has been great. And so they probably did. I mean, that's, what's going to happen with a young basketball team. And let's not forget, this is a young basketball team. And it's like I said, with me living here, I already know how it goes. When you get out around town, whether you're going to North Star Mall or Best Buy, wherever it is you're going, with them sitting second in the West, everybody's patting you on the back. Everybody's taking pictures. You feel like a rock star. All right. So I know that that's what's going on. And yeah, it's like both of you guys are saying, there are some things that need to be fixed. There are some adjustments that Mitch is going to have to come up with game plan wise in order for this team to move on and be great. But yeah, I agree with, everything that's going on, everything that you guys are saying, and the fact that, let's not, take this thing too far. But I'll tell you what, and I'm just going to address this with both of you, with them sitting second in the West, it's hard to tell these young guys that they might be 2 or 3 years down the road away from where the Spurs really want to be.
Mm-hmm. Well, and here's the thing with that, though, is I feel like, and maybe it's because it's been kind of just beaten over our heads for a while. So we're just trained to the thought of it, trained to the, of what it is. And it's a little bit fatiguing. The aspect of being patient with the youth and things like that. Yeah, it's true. But when I hear that, sometimes I'm kind of like, well, why can't they do necessarily both at the same time? Especially now that they're ahead of schedule. And it feels like it's kind of a little bit of a contradiction, because when we win, we're ahead of schedule. We're real good. But then you lose, you're like, oh, well, it's okay. We're rebuilding anyways, type deal. You know what I mean? And I think it needs to be the way that they've played up to this point, the way that they've played in these type of games. I want them to shed that youthful, apologetic kind of cop-out label. Maybe cop out's too strong because none of those guys will use the term cop out to what I mean, to get out of things. But I look at this squad right now and I'm saying they belong. They're flawed, but what team isn't? What team isn't flawed right now? The record is valid for a reason. They're the second best team in the Western Conference for a reason. They beat OKC 3 times in as many tries for a reason. Am I taking them in April and May against Oklahoma City? I'm not going to go that far yet. But Jeff, the way I see it right now is that this is a team that's here. They belong, and even more so the reason that taking this game against the Thunder and going 4-0 in as many tries, infinitely important.
How much? Well, let me start over again. And I look back at the start of the season. I say, well, how much is this record built on playing soft teams? They really haven't. Their strength of schedule to start the season was relatively easy, and now they're starting to get into the thick of things. You compound the fact that they're collectively, I think they're hitting the wall already. The guard play, more on that later, has just been, down the drain of late. I think this is a good time to really see what this team is made of. And what the thing about it, though, Devin, what's so frustrating about this team is like you drop a game to Minnesota where you had a double-figure lead, right? But you let the Jazz come into your gym and they beat you. But then you think back and go, but this is a team that beat the Thunder 3 times in a row. This is a team that beat all these big boys in the league. I just feel like this team recently is too much of a Jekyll and Hyde team that I don't know where their pulse is right now. Is it just simply the dog days of the NBA season? It's here and they're feeling it right now. Or is this maybe simple as what De'Aaron Fox said after the loss to Minnesota, that all teams go through this. We all go through our shooting slumps. We all have those periods. We'll get out of it. I don't know where my pulse falls on this team as of today.
Well, and that's why fans like us love NBA, right? Because this is not college football where you go, well, we beat this team, they beat that team, things like that. You never know. We as players and the coaches, everybody affiliated with the NBA, you never know what's going to happen. And with teams having 15 guys on a roster, any one of those 15 guys can beat you on any given night. So you always think about things like that. So, it's frustrating. Like, especially, someone like myself, watching the other night against Minnesota, And then, yeah, you think back to, well, they were really good against a few teams. Go back to the Orlando game when they got in at 4 a.m. They were great in that game, and so it's very frustrating. But, the thing about it is that, if you can just get, and that's what we're going to hit on later, but if you can get some of these guys just playing a little bit more consistent, then I think you'll start to see some of the things that you're wanting to see, Jeff.
Yeah, I think real quick, Casey. I think speaking of Casey, the last episode of Locked On Spurs, he and I did. We were looking at kind of the week ahead, looking at some games ahead. We circled Boston, and Casey were recording, and Casey asked me like, "Oh, well, you don't think they can beat this team? What are you sure? Yeah, Boston's playing good and all, but what are you on?" And I told Casey, I just don't know what this team is anymore. Early start of the season, months into the season, I was like, yep, I can circle this game as a W because look how great this team is playing right now. And they proved me wrong time and time again to start the season. Now, I don't know anymore. I don't know. If I look at, I'm making this up, the worst team in the league right now, and say, we're going to go to San Antonio. I'll be, okay, I just hope they don't play down the competition because the Spurs have admitted that. From Victor Wembanyama to Mitch Johnson, they all say they've been the issue this season is playing down to the competition. That little thread there, that was not existent to start the season. Now it's a problem now.
Well, I mean, I guess it was and it wasn't, because remember that, now that I think about it, that first homestand that they did have, remember they did blow big leads to, what was it, Brooklyn, Toronto, Miami?
Yeah.
And I mean, they ended up winning. Well, we forget about it because they ended up coming back in whatever capacity, holding off, or ultimately ended up winning those games. But I'm just kind of this sense right now where I look at them, I look at where they're at, and I look at how they're stacking up in the Western Conference, and I don't feel like this is anything overly outside of what an NBA team faces with an ebbs and flows of a year, because every team does go through it. But on the other side of the coin, I look at it and I'm saying, hey, the flaws are there. Like the flaws that can really hold this team back, they're there. They can't be going out there in these situations where they were in Minnesota yesterday and have this offensive stagnation and suddenly have, really just get lax on the discipline front and go through the fourth quarter, turning the ball over left and right. And Anthony Edwards, one of the best players in the world, is going there and doing what he does in these kind of spots. I know that they're vulnerable there. The Spurs are in those type of situations. I mean, I've gone on here before. I've said I thought the Timberwolves were a terrible matchup for them. But contrarily, I think we've learned at the same time, Devin, that when they do show up to work and they have the right matchup, it appears, i.e. Oklahoma City, it works out well in their favor. So playing the hypothetical mindset, former player, locker room thought process. You're coming off a loss, an ugly one at that. You push that in the past because, as you told me yesterday, wheels down in Oklahoma City, you're thinking about OKC. What is the individual type of mindset, and I guess kind of collective mindset, that somebody has, a young team, knowing that they have a chance to go 4-0 against, the reigning champs, the heavyweights of the league?
So basically, when you have the practice today, which I'm assuming was in OKC, the things that Mitch is talking with about everybody is look, I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know. I know you guys are happy to be back here. All right. The team will know where he's going with this, right? We've had a lot of success, here in OKC. I feel like we're in San Antonio country right here. And that's what you got to pass on to the team, because they are 3-0 against them. And there should be a lot of confidence going into the game tomorrow. And you have a chance to get rid of that bad taste in your mouth from Minnesota. So they're going to be excited about the game, not only because it gives you another chance to play on national television, but it's against OKC. Hey, you don't walk in there with that fear you did last year. This is a different year, and they'll be ready for them definitely tomorrow.
I'm sticking with the OKC Spurs preview. I asked this question for tomorrow's Locked On Spurs, but I'll bring it here. Who's it more of a must win for? Is it a must win for OKC or a must win for the Spurs?
I would say Spurs.
Really? See, I'm going with OKC.
I would say I don't think it's particularly a must win, but you gave me a good segue here.
Okay.
I don't think it's a must win per se for the Spurs, but I think it's you posed me two options here, and I think the Spurs more so than OKC because I don't think they're phased by the Spurs talking on that side of things. The Spurs don't, it's clear they don't like them. They don't respect them. They know they have their number, but that doesn't necessarily mean OKC is back in their tracks, saying, oh, okay, we don't particularly fear you guys neither. We don't know that. I will say this though. I'm not sure if the Spurs are going to win the game. I think it's more important. It's not the end of the world if they lose. Mm-hmm. One thing I do think needs to happen though, is Wemby's got to have a big night. Wemby's got to have an MVP caliber night tomorrow. It seems like the kid gloves are off. He's back in the starting lineup. They're really being pretty lenient with the minutes restriction, pushing him 30 minutes. It can't be one of these 17-point, 8-board, 5-block. Sure, it was 5 blocks. That'd be great. Victor, we need the aspect of Victor to be there, and to be present. And on the national spotlight, that's what I think needs to happen. I don't know if it does, but that's the one, when you use the term kind of must win, maybe must happen in that sense. I guess that's the more concrete thing I'm eyeing.
Yeah, I'm going to must win for OKC. I think the last thing OKC would want to do is give the Spurs team that's really confident against your team another win in your gym and just give them any type of locker room material, whether it's in a first round series or in that 5th game ahead this season. Look, the Thunder already lost the regular season series to the Spurs, and I highly doubt it, but if it comes down to home court advantage, at least the Spurs have that, but I don't think that'll come to that. I just think it's more of OKC than you'll hear the talking. Oh, well, great OKC, but you can't beat that young team out there that's so erratic of late, can't defend a 3, can't make a 3-shot. You lose to them. I just think it's a little bit more of a must win for OKC. I feel the pressure's on them going into tomorrow night's game.
Dev, what are you thinking?
You guys aren't going to like my answer. I'm going both. I'm going to tell you why I'm going both. For San Antonio, and that was fooling around when you guys were talking, they're 5.5 back of OKC. For San Antonio, it gets you a game closer. Now, on the other end, I didn't like in the fourth quarter SGA's body language for OKC. If I'm a Thunder fan, in all these other games when he's hitting the others and they're knocking down their shots and doing their thing, everything is good. It seemed like, being that this was going to end up being the 3rd loss for them against San Antonio, his body language was different. All right. He was very disappointed in his teammates instead of, hey man, keep shooting, I'll hit you again type of stuff. So if you're OKC, you need to have SGA have an MVP type game. So that's all I was going to say, Casey.
And remember, paraphrasing here, he said that a team doesn't beat you 3 times in 2 weeks or whatever without them being a better team than you. And that was after the Christmas game. SGA said that. So I think there's some validation that he offers there coming right out of his mouth that, speaks to what you're saying. As we go ahead, you got one more point?
Oh, yeah. Real quick. And here's another key point. Remember, J-Dub was just getting back, right? He might have been a couple of games into it. Now he's back now.
Yeah, true. Very true. And just kind of another hurdle that the Spurs will have to come across. But to be honest, I don't think that's the biggest hurdle that they have to come across because that offense continues to be in a little bit of a rut. So coming up on the other side of the break, yes, probably 2 thumbs down there, Jeff. If you hung out with us in our Spurs postcast last night, we ran out of time, but Devin presented some really interesting ideas. So I'm going to replay that for you real quick quick hitter on the other side of the break and pose a real good topic, at least in my opinion, to the three of us on the Spurs Squad Show right here on Locked on Spurs. But before we get to all that, let's have a conversation about one of our friends over there at FanDuel. And something to keep on the calendar later on this week with Friday coming up. As you know, it already feels different. Fridays do in basketball season. FanDuel is making them even better because every Friday night before the games tip off, FanDuel is giving fans a new way to kick off the weekend. They're doing it with NBA Happy Hour. It's your official pregame, a limited time window where special offers, if you got the app right there, they drop right inside the app before the action starts. So that's 6 to 7:30 Eastern on Fridays. Really appointment viewing type of stuff to get you ready for all the basketball heads out there with the NBA Happy Hour. You open up the app, and they're always bringing something new. The boost, the bonus, the surprises, a chance for you to, above all else, make some big bucks on top of that too. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app to see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour. One more time, Fridays, 6 to 7:30 Eastern with NBA Happy Hour, only on FanDuel. FanDuel app, of course, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. And before we get back to work over here, I want to thank all the everydayers, if you will. As you know, always making Locked On Spurs or all the Locked On platforms your first listen of the day. And part of the reason the Locked On Podcast Network is the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't already, go check out our new Everydayer Club. Really cool stuff over there. Exclusive access. You get everything from an ad-free audio feed, members only Discord chat to talk about the game, all $5 a month. There's the link on your screen. Again, one more time, lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer. All right, Spurs Squad Show rolling on and having a conversation based off something my dear friend Devin and I had a conversation about following the Spurs Timberwolves game and subsequent loss for San Antonio, talking about the fact that the offense is at a little bit of a impasse, crossroads, whatever you want to call it. It hasn't been clicking right over the past 9 games. Devin brought up a really good point, and I wanted to cue it up and I wanted to play it back because I felt like it would be more important and more impactful if it came out of his mouth than comparatively speaking to mine.
Wemby is a phenomenal player. But the Spurs, at the end of the day, they have to figure out where he's going to be most effective. And right now, to be honest with you, they're letting him figure out the Spurs instead of the Spurs figuring out him. And I'm talking about offensively. Defensively, you already know what Victor is. I'm talking about offensively. Because to have someone fading away at 7-5 from the free throw line for a game winner is concerning at the least.
All right, my friend, you put it much better than I could on many of fronts. Simplify that and make it make sense.
All right, so it's very simple. When we played here in San Antonio and we had a guy like Tim Duncan, we had early offense. We had strong, we had weak, but we knew that we were in either one when we came down. Now, to shorten this point, at the end of the day, the ball got on the block to him. All right? That dictated what it is that we were going to do. Now, on the other part of what it is that I'm saying is late in games, especially Minnesota, late in games, Pop did a great job of calling plays every single possession. It seems like Mitch is trying to get everything off the early screen and roll. Or what you'll see is the guard come down and they'll just do a little dribble handoff where they leave it behind for Victor, 35 feet away from the basket, and that kind of determines where it is the offense is going to go from there. You know, it's tough. It's tough because I'm pretty sure the three of us, if we're playing basketball on defense, we can see a guy 7'5" coming down the lane, right? So we know that that's going to happen. So my point in saying things like this is there needs to be more of a scheme, all right, with Victor. Because anytime I see him catch it around, especially on the left elbow, I know that big kangaroo hop's coming to the right and he's fading away with that shot that he hits. Okay, I know that. All right. If I see him on the right side, he's gonna jab you a couple times and get to his shot. So it's starting to be predictable. So if it's predictable for me, I know it's predictable for scouts that are watching this guy on an everyday basis. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So there needs to be more, not just having him around the free throw line, not just having him up top. Have him cut off the baseline. Have him come from the backside. It's just got to be more like you guys like gumbo. I need more. That's all I'm saying, Casey.
Huh. You know, this is where I look at Victor, and it's I'm hearing what you're saying, Devin. But it kind of lines up to what Victor's been saying since day one. I don't want to be seen as just a center. You know, I want to show that I'm a basket. I could do it all. So maybe his words and your views on it, they kind of marry each other. And that's what makes Victor so unique. He can be, you know, the jab step, as you mentioned, or the fadeaway shot. Great. But how about this too? He can do all of that and more. So how much do you think the Spurs really need to lean into him being so dynamic, and maybe not say dictate, but kind of let him just play?
All right. So, and you know, I'm laughing and crying at the same time when I'm about to tell you this, but Tim never had to say, "Hey, I'm open." When you're running up and down the court, he would just look at you and you're like, "Oh, I'll find you. I'll find you." So with Wemby, it seems like he's either going to have to get to the point, or he's going to have to find it within himself to say, "Hey, listen, this fourth quarter, hey, give me the ball. All right, play off me. I'm going to go out here and I got to do my thing. All right." And guess what, Jeff, Casey? These other guys are going to have to do that.
Yeah, they are.
Right? But I get it, because he everybody says he's so unselfish, he'll find you this and that. Okay, I want him to be unselfish. I want him to be the man and be unselfish. But there's 3 possessions in the Minnesota game. Casey and I talked about it, you know, Harper and Castle, before they got taken out, you know, they're playing ball with each other, and Wemby doesn't even touch the ball in that possession.
Yeah.
And Castle jacks up a 3. That's what I'm talking about right there, Jeff. All right. That ball needs to be in Wemby's hands. I don't care where. Just give him a possession, you know, late in the game in the fourth quarter when you're trying to win. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and then Casey, real fast, you know, kind of what I mentioned to Devin, saying how Victor since day one has been saying, I am not, you know, this. I can do it all. I can do it all. Don't pigeonhole me. Don't pigeonhole me. Is he at a point where somebody asked him recently about having a signature shot, and he even shot that down. And his reason was, because people are going to figure that out too. So maybe the Spurs should just let him be. But as long as Devin, you know, what Devin mentioned right now, the players look to him first. You know, give him the ball. You know, don't forget you have this generational player wearing silver and black.
Yeah, I think where I'm kind of at it is that you knew what you were getting into on that front, and you knew that it was going to be a little bit of it was going to take some work in that marriage to make the marriage work, because they've never had a superstar like him. They've never had anyone in any kind of capacity, any facet like him, anything remotely close to him. So this wasn't going to be no classic, beautiful game stuff that we've known here in any capacity. They've never had anything like it. And so it's not just something that you figure out in 1 year, 2 years. It's something that you continue to figure out in time and try to make it work along the way. And this is clearly a growing pain that's along with it, because we haven't seen it in a spot where, you know, for the most part, it was trying. It's like there's kind of like different phases of this evolution of making this work, right? So for the first 2 years, we didn't even really know what Victor was and what worked with him and what didn't work with him. And once Fox got here, and at the end of last year, when they got rid of a whole bunch of guys and brought in a whole bunch of new guys this year, we have an idea now of what works with him. So how does it work? How do we make it work? We got the guys that can complement his skill set. Now it's a matter of making it all mesh, making it all complicate. And especially it's more magnified, that much more important when the team is good and they're playing in games that matter, right? So I think this is just kind of part of it. Is it an impasse? Perhaps, but an impasse doesn't necessarily mean that it's at a crossroad and things are going to go spiraling when they go bad, you know. But I do think it is a thing. I do think this is something that they will have to figure out along the way, because it goes without saying, Victor is the one that drives this whole thing. So whether or not it gets to a point where they let him take that entirely, and maybe they kind of bend at that Spurs culture a little bit, which is unprecedented, but everything involving Victor is unprecedented, whether it's that or whether it's Victor giving a little bit, it's probably somewhere in the middle. That's when I think things will work, Devin. But right now, I mean, this is a growing pain that they're going through, and a lot of it is because they are still working that aspect of his game out.
All right, so let's look at it this way. So Stephon Castle's having a heck of a year, right? I know it's been slow, but overall, he's having a heck of a year, correct?
Right.
De'Aaron Fox has been De'Aaron Fox, correct?
Correct.
All right. Well, I don't mind these guys, like, you know, everybody at the beginning of the season is trying to be an all-star. You know, you start putting yourself in a different tax bracket when you get all those things. But if I'm Mitch, all I say in the locker room is, hey, it begins and ends with number one. All right? So if we play off of him, we'll go from there. It's that simple. Because if Wemby gets frustrated with anybody, coaches, players, anybody, guess who the Spurs are going to pick to stay?
Victor. Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course.
Now, you don't want Victor to get to that point. And I feel sometimes with his personality that I feel like you got some of these situations like they're testing him. Listen, he is a young man right now that loves the game of basketball. But I'm telling you, he's going to get to a point where some of this stuff is not going to fly. And I'm just hoping that it's sooner rather than later.
That he acknowledges that this stuff doesn't fly?
Yeah, no, that he demands the basketball in the fourth quarter. That's all. That's all I'm saying, Casey.
Well, I mean, a lot of, on so many fronts with him, I feel like it's just been unorthodox. And I feel like there has never, we obviously talk beyond us, everyone, basketball fans, analysts, whatever, have already labeled him as potentially top 10 greatest players of all time, top 5, whatever. You know, they say the runway is there. All those guys in those conversations that you throw out there, Jordan, LeBron, Larry Bird of the world, I'm spitballing here, you know, Kareem. One thing all those guys had was that they had an attitude about it. And they spoke, to put it PG, where we got ads, they spoke up for themselves. And it feels like there's an element of Victor where he's still being kind of like that new kid at the job, you know, not trying to ruffle too many feathers. Maybe it's because it's the Spurs, but it seems like at some point, because it goes beyond the offense, whether it's sitting in the bench and, you know, with a minutes restriction, things like that, there's going to be a little bit of a point where Victor's just like, the heck with this, man. You know, like if we're going to do this, we got to start doing this my way. But I don't think that's necessarily a Victor thing per se, Jeff. I think that's just anyone who cares, especially at that talent, especially at that magnitude. And honestly, if he wasn't saying that, I'd probably be kind of worried.
It's not just a Victor thing, too. I think it's also a roster thing, too. When you got a guy who was named Mr. Clutch, Performer of the Year, De'Aaron Fox, I get it. You would want to defer to him if he's that great with the games on the line. Hey, what about Devin Vassell? Yeah, he's been playing great till the injury happened. Sure, I can defer to him. I think what's going on here is just the roster itself maybe just lends to him maybe deferring because he feels so comfortable with his teammates around. He trusts them enough to take that last shot, to rally in the last 5 minutes. But if there is a hint of something brewing, we saw what happened recently in that Boston game. It was Victor who took the clutch shots. It was Victor who made them. I've been seeing that lately throughout the year. It's been peppered in these close games where Victor is the guy with the ball in situations like that. It doesn't happen often, but I've been noticing an increase of that. That Boston game was an example there. Also, too, I think he's been a victim, too, of the minutes restriction, before, that, too, well, Victor, sorry, you hit your 20-something, bye, sit down. Yeah, there's only 2 minutes left in the game, but sorry, you can't get in there. So I think him, being in that situation with the health thing and everything. So I think that's taken away from it, too. But I do think from my time, media rows, watching the games, you're starting to see a trend in this direction already.
All right, we'll find out. I mean, a ways to go, a ways to analyze this. I mean, game number 40 is the only one that's on deck, or it's the next one on deck tomorrow against Oklahoma City. But now it's a matter of figuring out and tidying things up and figuring out what's going on with their star rookie, their prize rookie, Dylan Harper, because he is hitting a series of woes. So on the other side of the break, we're going to figure out, is this the rookie wall, or is this something maybe a little bit bigger? I don't know. We'll find out. That's why we bring in the experts to talk about these things right here on the Spurs Squad Show on Locked On Spurs. But before we talk about the Spurs prize prospect, let's talk about our buddies at Game Time. Got a homestand coming up, so you're going to want to pay attention to this. During basketball season, as we know, there's nothing like being in the building, the energy, the vibes, just, fans want to be there for those moments, especially when the team's winning like the Spurs are right there. And you want to get in there and not have to worry about being stuck on refreshing screens or wonder what the tickets are going to cost along the way. That all to do leading up to it. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time app, it gives fans the advantage back. And above all else, it makes life incredibly easy to score these great tickets. Fast, simple, and without guesswork. Sometimes it just comes back to just being simple, right? You can get the price of what you're paying right from the jump. Bam, you got it. You love to see that. And you can see where you're sitting, like actually seeing where you're sitting, which is really cool. Bam, just the simple things you're looking for with something like this. They take all the guesswork out of it, and they take all the guesswork out of buying tickets. You do the same with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDON NBA for $20 off your first purchase. So download the Game Time app today and get in on the action. Spurs Squad Show rolling on here on a Monday night, turning the focus to a guy who a lot of us, maybe prematurely, maybe not, had kind of coined the front runner for the rookie of the year. But that's why we don't do things after 20 games, right? That's why we don't get overly excited after a handful of games. What are we talking about? Well, a sustained slump for Dylan Harper at the moment, because since the calendar turned to the month of January, Harper is averaging less than 7 points a night, is averaging less than 33% from the field, and is shooting just about 20% from three. I have the numbers for you. Jeff has the real aesthetics. I'm about to hit you with.
Are you ready? Are they ready for this, guys? I don't know. If
everybody hold your breath. Hold your breath. Close your eyes. I don't know. Here you go.
Oh my goodness. Look at all that red there, Devin.
Yes.
Look at all that red.
Yes.
Red there.
Jeff, what is, aside from the cornucopia red and green on your screen right here, more so red, what is sticking out to you about Harper's struggles?
Well, first of all, this chart is courtesy of Synergy Sports. And shot is just gone. It's gone. And fine, if I would have been okay with a lot of red outside the paint, but the fact that he's known for being a slasher, creator guy in the paint, can score anywhere once he touches paint, that's just down. Look at that. 0 for 2 in the last 9 games inside that 3-point area right above the key there. What about at the rim? He's 9 for 30, 30%. It's well below league average there. Oh, my God. Look, I want to chalk this up, Devin, Casey, to the rookie wall. I think that's what we're witnessing right now in real time. The kid is playing a lot more basketball than he did at Rutgers. Mm-hmm. He's playing against a higher competition than he did at Rutgers. He has to travel. He didn't have to travel as much at Rutgers. I think this is just a byproduct of that. Like all rookies, he'll snap out of it. I am not too overly concerned about it. What makes me more concerned is if he is hitting the rookie wall, then guys like Castle and Fox should understand that, and that, hey, maybe we need to pick up the slack. But even they're having their issues of late. Again, what De'Aaron Fox said recently when he was asked about the guard troubles of late after the loss to Minnesota, he just chalked it up to, it's one of those things. It happens during the season. We'll snap out of it. Well, De'Aaron, I hope you're right, because they need the kid to play that he was playing to start the season. Devin, you've been there before. Do you think this is just a rookie wall? You probably experienced it. You probably saw it too in the teams you played with.
Yeah, I'll hop in. And I'll answer that one for Devin real quick. I'll and then I'll get his stance because I don't want. sorry to cut in the middle, but I had a point and I didn't want to lose the point that Jeff brought up, so it was an eager one at that. I think the guards have a notable impact, the Castle side of things, the Fox side of things. I think there's a real noticeable impact on that side that has on Harper, kind of the trickle down of it, because I think we're kind of hitting a little bit of an impasse on the sense that you're looking at a lot of the things we were concerned about at the start of the season. The 3 guards with a very similar skill set, perhaps going through the tougher aspect of figuring this all out. So for me, I think part of it's a rookie wall, a little bit of it, but I think the Castle and Fox side of things, I think that's a real contributing factor in itself. Sorry to cut off in the way there. I had a point and I needed to break it up, and I felt like it was important. I didn't want to break it. I didn't want to lose it. Devin, to go back off Jeff's question, is this a rookie wall or is this something bigger?
No, it's, you made me think of this. If we go back and look at Tony Parker's first 40 games with the Spurs, whatever his numbers were, whatever the shooting percentages were, because I would like to compare the two of those and kind of go off of that, being that, I think at the end of the day, Harper's going to be the biggest steal in Spurs history as far as, draft picks. He is a phenomenal player. This is something that players go through. I was just at The Rock, and I saw the shooting machines that they have. And I'll tell you something, he's going to spend a lot of time with those and have all the ball boys in the world rebounding for him. So he's going to be just fine. He's got to have one of these games that, just come back, have a big game, and from there, he's going to take off. I'm not concerned about it because I knew before he even started his career that he wasn't a high volume, high percentage 3-point guy. Is he getting in the lane and he's missing some bunnies? Yeah, but everybody goes through that. So I'm not too concerned. I just need him tomorrow to get out of his slump and have a big game.
Casey, real fast. I sent in another shot chart via Synergy. You want to bring that up real fast?
Bam.
So to be fair, because it's not just Harper too. Now this is the combined shooting chart of Fox and Castle in the last 7 games. So this is what the veteran Fox and the sophomore Castle are doing combined right now. That's not good, guys. And this is why I'm more concerned. I can give Harper a pass. It happens. Victor talked about it. Castle went through it last year. I'm pretty sure Devin went through it as well when he was just a rookie in the NBA. But when you have a veteran who's not really stepping up of late and a guy who was anointed perhaps arguably the third or even the second best player on the roster, this is what they're doing of late combined. Yeah. This is not good.
So wait, you said that's Fox.
That's
and
Fox
Harper.
and Carter. I'm sorry, Fox and Castle together.
Fox and Castle, not including Harper.
Not including Harper. We just showed Harper right now. So just to be fair, this is
right. Well, I mean, that's part of the reason they're not winning like they were a month ago, right? Is that shot, the shot selection one, and then the accuracy of said shot selection, sometimes I feel like basketball is really simple. There you have it. You're looking at a screen with a whole lot of red and not a whole lot of green. Jeff bringing the numbers tonight. He's doing a good job.
Look at that there.
No, but
hey, Devin, when you saw that chart as a former player, what stood out to you? Can you hear me, Devin?
No, I was going to say I know the audio is going in and out on your side to Devin. Okay.
What stands out to me is when I look at that thing again is fine. Their shot is off, but you know what? The only thing that brings a smile on my face over the last few games where they've been shooting horribly, I looked up the numbers for this. So I'll pull it up right here. Actually, I did an article about this for Ken's 5 today, kind of just refuting what Jaylen Brown said after the loss, saying that the Spurs are not that great of a defensive team. I don't know if y'all caught that shade. He said, they're good, but they're not that great. Well, this is what the Spurs collectively have been doing on the defensive end since Jaylen Brown's comment. Right now they're third in the league in defensive rating at 111.2. They're first in defensive rebound percentage at 72.3%. And to make this short here, in this month of January, through the games played, the Spurs lead the NBA in defensive rating at 102.6. It's the defense that's been keeping them in right now in these games. But if they can just get that offense humming, my goodness, we can see what we saw to start the season happen all over again. It's just the offense that's in just a rut right now.
No, I agree. And sometimes it's just as simple as that. Your stars gotta go. Your stars just gotta show up. Your elite players just got to show up to work and take care of business. And over this past little stretch, albeit, it's only been 9-10 games. That's what's been the case. And obviously what makes this Thunder game as pivotal as it is because it's a chance to dig themselves out of it. Devin, is there along the way, I know De'Aaron Fox had a conversation or paraphrasing, had a conversation, basically a pick-me-up type deal that he referenced about Harper and his slide that he's going through. Is there any kind of conversation, plural conversations, that you remember along the way as a young player, early in a rut, early in your career, who's kind of going through something like this, from someone who's been around the block before to kind of get the spirits up like that?
No. No. When I was here, we had Steve Smith, Bruce Bowen, Brent Berry, and Manu Ginobili. No, they weren't telling me to pick myself up. No, we were all battling for minutes. So no, I've seen it. When I got older in the league, I tried to do that when a young man, Julius Wright, when I was in New Orleans. But no, when I was a young man in the league, no, there was a lot going on, and it was be where you need to be, young fella, and have the donuts here. That's it.
I know. Jeff, I know we got a point. I know you, but we got an ad break. We got to get in. So I'm sorry. I'm going to have you bite your tongue there for a second. But yeah, no, different times, I guess, right?
Yeah, no.
Different times. All right. Well, coming up on the other side, real quick break. We're gonna give our final thoughts ahead of this big Oklahoma City game and put a bow on things right here in the Spurs Squad Show on Locked On Spurs. Don't go anywhere. All right, almost time for us to get out of here. Almost time to, I guess, kind of place a label, overreact. I don't know which way to put it, the best way to put it. Make the most of what this Thunder game is on deck Tuesday, tomorrow. Wondering the Spurs can go 4-0 on the season so far. Jeff, I cut you off, so I'm going to give you first crack. How's Tuesday looking? This time tomorrow, what's the conversation?
Not confident on this team right now. They're not instilling me the confidence that I saw earlier in the season. I think the OKC Thunder definitely, as I mentioned earlier, this is more of a must-win for them than it is for the Spurs. It's in their gym, in front of their home crowd. Unfortunately, I think the Spurs drop a game tonight. I would love for them to win. I think that's exactly what they need to help with the confidence side of things, to once again prove that the last 7-9 games are, they're just one of those things that happen throughout the season. All teams go through it. But yeah, not a lot of confidence as a team right now. As we just highlighted, the guard play is so critical against OKC. They haven't been playing that great of late.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think OKC gets this one tomorrow night.
Where are you at with this, Devin?
All right, it's time to get back because I didn't do well. I had Ole Miss playing Oregon in the chip. That did not happen. So we're going to get back on this one. I got Spurs +6 with 2 prop bets, Casey, Jeff. Kelly Olynyk hits 2 threes. Jeremy Sohan 1 3. Riding. Spurs +6.
I should have had Devin do the FanDuel read.
Yeah. He would have been awesome with that read.
Mm-hmm.
See, here's the thing. Devin can come back after the game on the postcast, and then I'll set up the I'm not sure if FanDuel is our sponsor on Tuesday. We'll find out. For Devin's sake, I hope that it is, because he can vouch for it, and hopefully he ends the night a winner. Only if he ends the night a winner. If he ends a loser, and I mean, if he loses, he ain't gonna want to go anywhere near that. But
real quick. The other reason why I got I tried to mention this too. Why I got the Spurs losing is no Devin. Devin's been key in these games.
Yeah,
Devin Vassell. I mean, not
no
Devin
Devin.
Brown.
No,
Devin Vassell.
no Devin Vassell.
Yeah.
Yes, we've gotten to the 53rd minute mark in the show, and we have neglected to mention that Devin Vassell is going to be out once again. So obviously, that's a contributing factor to him and the offense collectively as a whole. Really struggling, especially the 3-point shooting side of things. I have OKC getting back on the right side of things in their book tomorrow. I'm not crazy about with where the Spurs are at, and I think there's a level of vulnerability that they have right now that teams like the Thunder will expose. And you saw it with a team like Minnesota last night, 2 nights ago, I guess now. They exposed the Spurs when it mattered. And if we get together on Wednesday, for our next squad show, if we're having a conversation about the Spurs going 4-0 so far against the Thunder, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be blown away. Why? Because I have 3 other prior games evidence of knowing that this is a team that can go punch for punch, blow for blow with the best team in the league. On the contrary, I also know this is the best team in the league. And losing 3 times to one particular team like they have to the Spurs, they're going to do everything in their power to not make a 4th happen, especially when they've had almost a month to think about it. So I have Oklahoma City in this game. I don't think that's as much an indictment on the Spurs as just kind of basketball averages evening out. And I think we'll be hopping on the back end, unfortunately, talking about a Spurs loss. But we'll see.
If you want to go with the what Devin brought up about prop bets and everything, keep an eye on the third quarter in OKC. The Thunder are 17-0 when they're leading after the third in their gym. They have not lost a game this year.
The Thunder are 17-0 when they've led after the third quarter?
In their gym.
Yep.
In their gym.
Yeah.
There you go. We're a team.
Look at Devin, just like, oh, there goes my prop bet. There goes my prop bet.
I know. There goes the prop. Devin, you had one more point.
If the Spurs win tomorrow, I just want to say, guys, if the Spurs win tomorrow, they're going to either have to start staying in Norman or in Dallas and going there, because I'm going to tell you, Oklahoma City's like, nah, we don't have no hotels for you. Sorry.
Boston didn't have no hot water after the game. You know, that's what kind of happens. Jeff, before you get out of here, tell them what you got on the title pod tomorrow.
Yeah, we're definitely taking a deeper dive into the preview of Spurs, Thunder, get into the kind of the thick of things, more numbers, also our predictions as well. And then we put into the spotlight Dylan Harper, crunch his numbers of late. And as y'all saw, it's not been good. And we try to figure out what is ailing him. And we go beyond just the rookie wall. Is this something bigger? So that's on deck for tomorrow's Locked On Spurs.
Bright and early, and then come back after the game for the Spurs postcast. We got you covered as we always do right here on Locked On Spurs. 7 o'clock tip tomorrow, right? Yeah, 7 o'clock tip. It's the national TV NBC game. So Locked On Spurs, where you want to be to start the day and end the day. We got you covered. You already know that by now because you guys are the ones that make all this possible. We appreciate your love and engagement, always checking in and making this stuff fun, making this stuff entertaining. And it's always that much more fun when the games are big and the team's winning, just like the vibes have been great all the way around. We appreciate and love you guys for the work that you guys do. Good time hanging out with you this evening, fellas. Appreciate it as always. Next time we'll do this Wednesday, 9 o'clock or 9:15, should say.
Hey, Devin Brown's on deck for an upcoming Locked On Spurs.
Yeah, Devin Brown tomorrow, or well, I guess Wednesday for
Wednesday. Yeah, Devin Brown's on Wednesday.
Yep, we got you covered all over. That's where you want to be. So for that guy, NBA champion Devin Brown, for the host of the title pod, Jeff Garcia, the man in the middle, I'm Casey Viera. Everybody enjoy the rest of your Monday night and enjoy the game. Spurs Thunder coming up Tuesday.